if we are in this civilizational decline, who's the biggest threat? Is it China or is it the rise of Islamism? What is the factor we need to be most aware of?
Well, we have two threats in the West. One, of course, is an external enemy that has a population of 1.4 billion. It's a communist dictatorship, and it violates all international rules. It's taken over the South China Sea, and it feels that in the long term, it's destined to defeat the West, that we're affluent, we're decadent, its fertility is bad as well, but we're in decline, and it's opportunistic. And then we have what I would call a more insidious enemy of radical Islam. And we have, in the United States, 250,000 students, and most of these campuses, for example, where the virulent anti-Semitism takes place, is spearheaded by people either from the Middle East on campus or on work visas that are not even students. And they're the people who are yelling, "Go back to Poland," roughing up Jews on campus, terrorizing other students, and using useful idiot American students as their pawns. So there's two threats, and kind of an internal and I think immigration is a big problem in the West. We haven't solved that. No Western countries solved that. They just are incapable of saying, "We'd like to assimilate you. We'd like to integrate you. We'll intermarry you. All you have to do is come legally with a background audit in diverse numbers and numbers that we can assimilate. But you're not just going to flood into our country and then create a tribal enclave." And yet we can't say that to them.
So, Victor, you're right in suggesting probably that there ain't a copy of your book making its way to the White House, but do you think there's a copy on a bedside down in Mar-a-Lago somewhere that might be being flicked through? And do you see hope that Trump would, if he wins the next election, would be able to reverse some of this decline?
Well, he did before. He got, for all the crudity that he was accused of, and he can be crude, he got the Europeans to spend $100 billion more in defense. He raised our budget by $100 billion. There was no North Korean missiles launched. Their ISIS was destroyed. He killed Mr. Soleimani. The Houthis were declared terrorists. Hamas and Hezbollah were quiescent. We had a closed border by 2020. He stopped that. And so, I mean, there wasn't perfect, but he redid a lot of the things that Obama had done. And the Middle East was quiet. It was so quiet that Jake Sullivan, Mr. Biden's national security advisor, said just before October 7th that his Middle East portfolio was quiet. They inherited a quiet Middle East. He didn't say from whom, but he admitted that it was quiet.
But Trump right now is being prosecuted politically, this criminal case in New York. How do you see that? They're determined to have him criminally convicted, perhaps even sent to jail. What do you see unfolding there?
Well, everybody in the United States knows if he hadn't gone for re-election, there would be no case. Everybody knows these so-called crimes have never been indicted. Nobody's ever been indicted for any of them. No ex-president has had his house raided. No ex-president has been indicted for a phone call. No ex-president has been indicted for real estate assessments, which the bank enjoyed, made a profit, and the loans were paid back in timely fashion. No ex-president has had a campaign violation made into a felony, if it was a violation. Barack Obama had $300,000 in campaign violations. No one suggested that should be criminal rather than a civil offense. So everybody understands, I think the majority of Americans, what this is a effort of lawfare, because what the left cannot achieve at the ballot box. Joe Biden is polling about 38% approval. None of his policies get 51% approval, and they feel they can tie Donald Trump up all summer long, destroy him financially, psychologically, physically, run up $1 billion in legal fees. And they don't care about the country. We're the laughing stock of the world. We lecture people in Africa and Asia and Latin America about the wonders of American jurisprudence and blind justice and all this crap that we have abandoned. And so I think a lot of us are very embarrassed, and we want the United States to return to a legal society. We're also very afraid because under this administration, the FBI, the CIA, the DOJ have been weaponized in a way that we've never seen. Very hard to accept the left. It's all for equality and equity and peace and love, but they're very hardcore using the federal government to go after their political enemies.
It is strange days indeed. Victor will be rushing out to buy the book, so I urge people, The End of Everything, How Wars Descend into Annihilation, which you've just released. Absolute, probably slightly depressing read in parts, but and you're not aware of the problem unless you identify the problem, and well done for doing that.